When mothers get locked up, their kids get locked out.
The last time my mom went to prison, I was about 15. The first time I was around 11.
I didn't really think about parenting or what I could have been learning while I was in prison or how I could help my kids do better than I was doing.
Kids of incarcerated parents are more apt to get locked up.
If my mom could have used her time in prison learning about parenting, she may not have gone back so many times.
It was always me, my little brother, and my sister who were left behind when my mom got locked up. We're all parents now, and we know there's so much to know about kids, about parenting.
The parent puzzle classes that are now at CIW, where I was incarcerated, would have helped me through some really hard times.
We work with incarcerated moms, helping them learn about their kids' needs, helping them keep the love connection. When mothers are locked up, kids are locked out.
I work in education. My specialty is parent and community engagement. And so I like the topic she's going to have today about mothers behind bars, because many of those mothers have children who are in the K-12 system, and my job is to connect the children with their parents if at all possible. So I like the event today because I'm interested in making sure that mothers and fathers have access to their children's education and they get engaged in that process.
I would like to welcome you all to this exceptionally important event, because it's dedicated to a group of people who are mostly disregarded and ignored usually. And these are the women in prison, women or mothers behind bars. Let me say a couple of words about the project. It is also about parenting. It is also about mothers, about children. And it is for women who, by unfortunate circumstances in life, are isolated, and they need all the help we can give them to come back to society, to take care of themselves and to take care of the children as well. This prison project, she's trying to create a situation for children which is possible to go to their mothers and share their problems with their mothers and get some guidance from them. That parenting in this case is very important, parenting classes. And I believe, like she does too, that if we do help people, women who are in prison or who are having similar type of problems, we will eventually have a more compassionate and a more humanitarian world.
So we've been friends, and she served as one of my commissioners in the past, and for, I guess, 25 years or so. So this is a very viable program that she's involved with. Everything revolves around a mother and a father and their relationship with a child. I see that with my children, and they're involved with the AYSO and the Y and in their school. And you see the parents who are there with their children, be at the athletic events or whatever, or the parent-teacher conferences. And the ones whose parents are always involved, those kids excel, and they're also good role models for the other kids. The problems that we have today really revolve around the child growing up having the right role model. And it's why it's so vital that we have the various programs. And I always use the analogy dealing with foster parenting and adoptions that Billy Graham once used for welfare. He said if every church and synagogue in the United States would take in 10 families on welfare, you could eliminate welfare. And we have encouraged our faith-based community in Los Angeles County to step forward in foster care and mentoring. it's important that they have this ability to have a positive role model, these young people. And when they have a bad experience, then you have groups like the Boys and Girls Club and the Y, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Brownies, all of these other groups where you have role models that help these kids. But parents who are incarcerated, these children right now have a stigma, and that's why it's important that you have support groups coming forward to be the proper role models so that they will have that anchor to continue to have an appreciation for education and see education as a door opening up for opportunity. And it takes public-private partnerships, Hillside here, where we are right now, as many of you are involved with Hillside, know the valuable support that they do for our young people. But Shirlee, with her involvement on her program, talking to the people, having guests, and it's a privilege to be able to support that program. It's a public-private partnership, those in the public sector and those in the private sector working together so that these young people know that they have a future, they can achieve their goals, and they have this support system in place. So it's a pleasure. Thank
you. I'm really pleased to join all of you, and I'm pleased to honor the work at not only CIW, but the Judge Marguerite Dowling, who you are going to honor today. I'm a huge supporter of rehabilitation programs and the saving of lives. I've just, for the past couple of years, as my role as a state senator, have been traveling the state looking at the impact of poverty in our state. There is an anthology out a couple of years ago talking about unequal opportunities. We've always viewed education as being the equalizer. And unfortunately, through our current economic times, that equalizer has not been what it's supposed to be. So many of us cannot bridge that divide. Food insecurity. If you're hungry, you're poor. And it's amazing that all the philanthropy and food banks that we have in our midst only addresses about 3% of the problem. Very small part of the problem. So we have a federal government that wants to cut SNAP, which exacerbates the problem. This year we did, as a response to looking at poverty, looked at community schools. What Supervisor Antonovich was talking about is breaking down the barriers between cities and schools and nonprofits and businesses, etc., and building that village, because it takes all of us, to get out of our skin and care about the kids in our community. 4 years ago, when I was in the Assembly, I spent the night at Valley State Prison. And I made it my goal, you know, in those days, I mean, I have been in the legislature a long time, but I'm not, and I'm getting gray, but that's purposeful. I mean, I stopped dyeing my hair. Anyway, so 4 years ago, I spent the night in Valley State Prison. It was the best night for some of those women. They really wanted me to come back because the food was so great that night. But it's not, you know, not a funny episode when you understand that so many of these women are in there for what we call non-serious, non-sex, non-violent abuses, and victims of poor self-esteem and victims of abuse, victims of all kinds of things that most of us can't even imagine. And 70%, as Shirlee said, you know, or 75% of these women have kids. And we who do not want to put state prisons in our midst, we have a terrible public policy here. So we build state prisons out of nowhere. CIW perhaps is the exception to the rule. That was probably very vacant land many years ago. But we don't want to build these institutions in our midst. And so what happens? When 75% of these women have kids, they get separated. And who is going to drive or take these children 3 hours up to visit your mother and 3 hours back for what? For once a year? And that's what On the Bus is about. The Catholic Charities have sponsored On the Bus once a year. They're trying to do, I think they're doing it more often now, but still, it's not enough. So what we're talking about is perhaps not only dealing on the outside about what needs to be done, but on the inside was what Shirlee's program is all about.
Hopefully, the foster system has gotten better. At that time, it wasn't. And I was raised in foster care, and I don't like to talk about it any more than he does. But it happened, and I think that you guys should know about it if you don't. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So all I can tell you is that I hope it's changed, and I hope they're helping people, and they're seriously helping children, because it was cold and very uncaring, and I went through them since I was born in a hospital sick. My mom left me there, so I was there. And all the foster homes, after the first 5 years, I stayed with the nurses. That was good. After that, it went down, and I was never felt like I was loved, wanted, cared for, nothing like that. They fed me, pretty nasty, but I ate. But I never stayed there. I ran off because I didn't like it. I didn't feel good. It wasn't for me, I guess. I just didn't like it. So I started running away at 8. I went with my older sister. She's only a couple years older than me. Because we met my mother and father. They finally came to see us in one of the foster homes. I heard their name and where they lived. So I looked in the phone book and found out where that was. So I started calling everyone and found out where they were, and so we took a bus and we went there. Found our parent. So, okay, that was okay, but I didn't last there very long. It wasn't very good either. It wasn't as bad as foster homes, though. It was my mom, after all. But she wasn't ready for children. That's why she never went and got us. And she had 3. She never went and got us because she wasn't ready. True enough, I was sick when she left me in the hospital, so I forgave that in a way, sort of. But she really wasn't ready, and we should have understood that. But we were kids trying to get with our parents, so we didn't care what they said. We just wanted to be there. Okay, so after that, I ran off from there too. I didn't stay there. Okay, at about 12, I remember 11, my girlfriend and I found a car with keys in it. We were in San Isidro. She lived there, and I was visiting. And so we took the car and went to San Francisco. And that was fun because we had met a lot of people when we were locked up in these juvenile places. And they were like real receptive. Oh, come on, and hiding us from their parents, feeding us, letting us stay. It was kind of interesting. And so we did that until we got tired, maybe a week, 2 weeks. I'll give it about 2 weeks, and then we started to come back. Well, we got caught trying to steal gas to get home. So that was another 2.5 years I gave up to juvie. Juvie and prison really kind of were like the same to me because I was young. I didn't really have that much going. My mom and them never wrote, so they didn't really care much, and I didn't miss anything. So it was just like, I find some good people that like me at juvie or in the prison, and they treat me good, and I'd get, like privileges here, privileges there, and some didn't, and I would get not privileges. So it was just a matter of adapting, which I did. I did pretty good. I was the youngest one in the joint the first time I went, by the way. Okay, so then I met Shirlee in 1966. We were going to Pasadena City College, and we were working on art projects, which I did end up getting an AA in art. Did you? No. Okay. So I stuck with it, and I liked it. It took me a long time because I had, I was having children. I was having problems with this man of mine. Just a lot of things. But I stuck with it off and on, and I did it. I did 10 years parole. I feel bad about the life I lived, but can I say I did it? I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't know another way to do it. And if I'd have had some of that parenting stuff taught to me in the penitentiary the 3 times I went, I'm sure it would have helped. Even though I gave them all my love and everything I could afford. But the point is, I'd have had some more structure, and I'd have probably been better off parent for them. As it was, they love me anyway. So.
I have been with the California Department of Corrections for 23 years. I started my career in 1990 at Richard J. Donovan down in San Diego. I left there in 92 and went to Calipatria State Prison in Imperial County. I stayed there down in the desert approximately 18 years, moving up through the ranks. I had an opportunity to be a parole agent for 2 years, from 2004 to 2006. In October 2006, I went to Chuckawalla Valley State Prison in Blythe as a captain. In 2010, I came to California Rehabilitation Center in Norco as an associate warden. I became the chief deputy warden at Norco, and on October 1st, 2013, I am the acting warden of California Institution for Women. I have approximately 257 women currently at our 3 fire camps. Within the prison, I have a 45-bed psychiatric inpatient unit known as the PIP, which opened in 2012. I have an administrative segregation unit, a security housing unit, a psychiatric services unit. Some of our programs offered for women are adult basic education, which allows them to earn their GED, high school diploma, several college programs, literacy programs, enhanced visiting, parental bonding. Our vocational training includes computer training, data processing, word processing, electronics, building maintenance, our popular cosmetology and manicuring, and a physical fitness training to prepare our ladies to fight at our fire camps. Additionally, on the campus, we have Prison Industry Authority, known as PIA. It is our clothing and textile manufacturing, where they make shirts, shorts, jeans, smocks, aprons, bedspreads, boxer shorts, handkerchiefs, bandanas, and nomad firefighting clothing. One of the things at CIW we value is communication, responsibility, professionalism, an interdisciplinary approach, programming, training, and safety and security, of course. Our core values are integrity, respect, innovation, and teamwork. I have committed myself and my staff to be a positive force in our community. Me and my staff, we attend the School Attendance Review Board in San Bernardino County, known as SARB. I do understand the powerful impact our presence has on partnering with the school district in our attempts to lower the truancy rate within our community. Many of the inmates I have spoken to are too familiar with the SARB process. It has a direct impact and began their delinquent behavior starts in school and truancy. My goal, if we can, is to change at least 1 or 2 kids to go to school, not become truant, and not become part of the prison system. Today, thank you, Shirley, we're back there, because I said, what exactly do you want me to tell the audience about the prison and me and so forth? And a lot of things came to my mind about the prison. One of the things that crossed my mind is how do I begin to talk about the mothers that are behind the bars? My ladies are enlightened and an earnest effort of endurance, energy, expression, extreme exhaustion. They will exceed expectations as excellent examples, and you should be excited because I am.
Lucille Clifton was Poet Laureate of Maryland for several years, passed away in 2000. She won a National Book Award. She was a dear friend as much as she was my mother. She was a teacher, intuit. She was a mentor. She spoke the truth. She was a truth teller in her poetry. And her telling the truth informs me as a mother of 4 My husband and I have 4 children. We do the same thing as Ms. Warden. Our oldest is 31, our baby is 7. And there's 2 in between. But I believe that as watching my mother as a poet, watching her maneuver through her journey, tell the truth, however painful, share some of her painful secrets. She was molested by her father when she was between the ages of 7 and 12. I found out about this when I was 17. And while she was not incarcerated physically, she was imprisoned by that secret for the longest time. And when she was finally able to tell the truth, it freed her in a way. It also allowed me and my 5 siblings to learn how to face that kind of truth with courage. And courage was her driving force, I believe. And poetry was what set her free. So I wanted to share some of her poems that illustrate the arc of her as a daughter, because her mother also wrote poetry, but because my grandfather was the kind of person he was in those times, my grandfather told her that no wife of his was going to be a poet, so she burned the poems. And my mother witnessed this. So I will take you through sort of her journey as a daughter, observing this abdication of her mother's power and voice, and then coming to, through her journey as a mother, and then allowing us as daughters to move forward, walk our walk with integrity. So the first poem is called Fury for Mama. Remember this. She is standing by the furnace. The coals glisten like rubies. Her hand is crying. Her hand is clutching a sheaf of papers, poems. She gives them up. They burn jewels into jewels. Her eyes are animals. Each hank of her hair is a serpent's obedient wife. She will never recover. Remember, there is nothing you will not bear for this woman's sake. She was a child. She was paying attention, as they do. And our children pay attention to who we are, even more than what we say. The next poem is called February 13th, 1980. My mother's mother died February 1959, a month before I was born. February 13th, a month before I was born. This is a poem about my mother's celebration of that death 21 years afterward. 21 years of my life, you have been the lost color in my eye, my secret blindness. All my seeings turned gray with your going. Mother, I have worn your name like a shield. It has torn but protected me all these years. Now even your absence comes of age. I put on a dress called woman for this day, but I am not grown away from you, whatever I say. I command you to be good runners, to go with grace, go well in the dark, make for high ground, my dearest girls, my more than me.
I have the distinct pleasure of presenting our humanitarian award to Judge Marguerite D. Downing. So our award is Talk About Parenting with Shirlee Smith, Mothers Behind Bars, The Parent Puzzle, Humanitarian Award, Commitment, Involvement, Support of Diversity. So we thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say how truly humbled I am to be recognized by Talk About Parenting with Shirlee Smith and with this humanitarian award. It is truly a village, and I know that it takes a village to raise the children that are in foster care. I have to say that I'm always heartbroken when I hear stories about such as yours, because I take it personally when my kids are mistreated, the foster placement is not appropriate, or I hear stories about it, because we are really committed, myself and my colleagues at Children's Court, to making sure that our children are safe, that they're cared for, that they know somebody cares about them, that they're loved, and that somebody helps to inspire them to have a dream. And so we work that way. And in fact, it's also a pleasure to me to serve as a role model and a mentor to my kids, because so many of them don't see anybody that ever looks like them that has the job that I do. And so it's important that I talk to them. I had a little girl, she wanted to dance. And so I told her that she should look at Lula Washington's dance school on Coliseum in Crenshaw, and her eyes got all big. And I said, "You don't think I know where Coliseum in Crenshaw is?" She looked at me and shook my head. I said, "I know where Coliseum is. And I'm here, and I still know where it is." So I want the kids that I see and that I serve to know that their goals go beyond Crenshaw, beyond where they started out. And I was one of, we don't talk about politics, but the lesson when our current president became president is I came to work, I said school, and said to them, "You see where you can go. All you have to dream is dream big." Our concern is that children of incarcerated parents reunify with their parents less often than other children, that their parents who are incarcerated, their parental rights are terminated more often than other parents because they don't have access to services such as Ms. Smith's programs. And so we're looking at what barriers we can work on and that we can break down, and what services we need to put in place. Senator Liu has left, but she has been very active in working on trying to get us video conferencing so that we don't have to bring the parents out from CIW, but they can become engaged, because what I find is if we don't bring them to the table, then we don't know what they're thinking, and they feel that they have no opinion, they have no value, and they just opt out of the system. So my goal is to engage them early on, to get them active, to get them inspired about doing what they need, being involved in parenting, so that I can send these children back home, or if not back home, I can let their parents make an appropriate plan for them, and I can step out. And so I want to thank you so very much, and thank you, Ms. Smith, for acknowledging my work and my efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.